Bethlehem. It's good to share a few words with you about our worship this coming week. I am so privileged to be part of this community during these summer months, as Pastor Maida is now more than halfway through her sabbatical. And I have really enjoyed my time, mostly out in Minnetonka, but also a few times in Minneapolis as well. We have been deep into Matthew's Gospel as part of our sermon series, The Here and Now. And this coming week, we will be in the 12th chapter of Matthew. And Jesus is now, after having done a variety of ministry and teaching in the region of Galilee, is now closer to his hometown and is in a house with his disciples and presumably the people who are living in the house. And one of his disciples comes and taps him on the shoulder and says, "Jesus, guess what? Your mother and your brothers are outside and they would like a word with you." Jesus' response is a little bit surprising. He says, "Who are my mother and my brothers?" And then he points to the disciples and says, "These are my mother and brothers," and continues on and says, "Whoever does the will of my Father in heaven is my brother and sister and mother." Now, we don't know, and it probably, if you're like me, it may concern you a little bit, whether or not Jesus actually does go out and talk to his family. We don't know. Matthew doesn't tell us. That may be a concern of ours, but it's not a concern of Matthew's. Because Matthew is depicting Jesus as someone who is expanding the notion of family to include more than one's immediate or biological family, but to include the community that he is building around him. It's not a zero-sum game necessarily, but simply a way of expansion. The reign of God is expansive. And that's what I think is at the core of this message. It's just a very short text. Now, I don't know about you, but families are the greatest gift that there can be, but also the place where perhaps there is the most challenge in our lives. We have to commit ourselves to being part of a family. I've often cringed a little bit when people have talked about the church as a family, for the very reasons that you might expect. Families typically are exclusive sometimes. They are private. They are intimate. And those things don't often work or always work in the notion of family as church community. On the other hand, there are very positive things about the church as family. And that is this idea of extending our care and security, both giving and receiving, to the life of our community. I've often said to people, it's one thing to be committed to your family, to your friends, but it gives you a new opportunity to reach out beyond that by being part of a faith community. So faith communities are a gift. Sometimes they're like a family, sometimes they're not. But I hope that we can continue to think about this and how we are shaped both by our families and by our communities, and recognizing that both are a way for us to participate in the unfolding reign of God. Thank you so much, and I look forward to being with you this weekend.